Welcome back. In this lesson, we are going to be adding the leash and the clips. And so let's go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the last project we had, and let's just go ahead and save as, and we can call this draft 4. All right, so for this one, we don't need our photos. So let's just click on our photos and hide them, and we'll hide these. And what we do want is the leash. So remember, we made the leash in one of the earlier videos. So now we've got our little leash there, and let's just hit G and Y and kind of bring it closer to our dog. I'm going to go to 3 just to see the side profile view. And we're just going to make the leash kind of closer to the roll here. So we'll just do G and Y and kind of bring it, don't overlap it, but just give it some space, kind of right tucked in right behind the ears here. And so what we're going to do is kind of push the head back a little bit, and then we'll bring the clips up and around over it. So now we've got our leash, turn off our X-ray mode. So that's looking pretty good. One thing I'm noticing is that the ears are a little too tight, so we may have to pull these ears over a little bit and maybe push the back of the neck kind of closer or more inward. So let's go ahead and do that first. So we'll just go ahead and click on the dog and go into edit mode, and let's go into see-through mode. And make sure you have proportional editing turned on with O, and that will turn that on. And we're just going to click and drag and notice, how big the proportional editing circle is. And we're going to kind of just nudge these back closer to the roll here. And just bring those in, something like that. That way the leash can kind of droop down into the back of the head there, but we still want to have enough room to clear for our roll here. So maybe even move that up just a little bit more. And this one here. So you just really get it however you want it to look for your product here. And that's looking pretty good. So let's turn that off. We do have the head kind of poking out here, so we'll go to the side, turn on X-ray again, and just kind of drop that in just a little bit. Maybe drop this one in. Kind of work these in. And that's okay if it's poking into it a little bit. The leash is clothy, so it will bend and move as needed. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and go to the back of the head here where the ears are. I'm going to turn off X-ray mode, and we just need to kind of move the ears over. So I'm going to hit just click that little point here and do G and X, and yours may not be in the way. I'm just going to move those barely out of the way, just like that. Just kind of open it up a little bit, and I may even rotate the ears. See how this is kind of dropping below 45 degrees? May make it a little tricky to 3D print without supports. So I'm going to just click this little point here at the base of the ear, do Shift S and do cursor to selected, and let's switch that to the 3 cursor. And then in face mode, we'll grab the tops of the ears and do Control plus. That will just start selecting the ear. And in side view, we can rotate and just kind of bring that up a little bit, more of a 45-degree angle right here. And then I'm going to go to edge mode and maybe rotate that a little bit more up as well. Maybe this one too. And just kind of making it more of a gradual upslope. That way it'll be easier for our printer to print it. And that's looking pretty good. So let's go ahead, may even just widen out the neck here just a little bit, just to make it easier, since there's this big gap here for the little leash clips. So we'll just do G, and it's pulling up here to the ear. So let's just switch that back to active element and do G and X. And just kind of pull that out a little bit. Maybe G and Y. Just kind of widen this out a little bit. That's looking a little better. And that's just personal preference, just to kind of have something for the leash clip base to kind of connect to. So now what we want to do is create the leash clip. So go ahead and save, go into edge mode, and we're going to start making the little leash clip. So grab one up here, maybe this one kind of below the ear here, and we're just going to go to side view and then hit E to extrude, something like that, to just pass the leash there. And you can kind of see it's kind of popping out. But what we want to do is pop this selection off. So we can go into face mode, grab that little face we just extruded, and let's hit P to pop it off or separate by selection. And notice what happens in our layers. Bloop. So now we've got this dog head duplicate. I'm going to swap over into object mode, and let's rename this clip top. That's the top clip. And we don't need all of these modifiers. So we don't need the mirror modifier, and we don't need the bool tool, and we don't even need the multi-res. We're going to do something a little different. The multi-res does make it a little smoother, but I like the way the subdivision surface looks. It's a little more boxy, so we'll just crank that up to 2. And now we're ready to kind of start molding this plane around our leash. So let's go into edit mode. Make sure you have the clip top. And you just go into edge mode. And notice you do see kind of doubles going on there. You can turn that on and off if it helps right here. So, whichever. But really you're just messing with one line here. It's just kind of doubling it because of the solidified modifier. But what we can do is do Control 1, and that will go to the back view, and we'll just extrude that way. Somewhere in there, maybe rotate it a little bit. And then we'll extrude again and kind of go up. So we're just kind of making a 45-degree angle here. And I'm going to turn proportional editing off. And we just want this nice gradual slope up, kind of like that. And the cool thing about this is that it's just a plane. But if we go into object mode, it's actually got some geometry, and we can even crank that up. Maybe instead of the thickness 1, let's do like 3. There we go. That'll be a little bit stronger. For the wear and tear of the leash. So that's looking pretty good. We may even go back into edit mode on the clip, take this one here and just extrude that a little bit, maybe on the Y. And notice it's going in a weird direction. That's because our local is here. So just make sure that's global, and looks like we still have it. So we'll just hold the Y, and there we go. We kind of just making it go a little deeper into the dog right there. And may need to go a little more. See how it's not really touching that? So that's what we want. We want G and Y, just kind of morph that in. We may even turn this on so we can see what's happening in edit mode. And just do G and Y and kind of get this end to morph into the back of the dog's head, because we're going to use that for the Boolean. So just make sure it goes all the way in there like that. And there we go. So this is looking pretty good, but we can definitely fix this up and make it a little bit more better. So let's go maybe to the back view, Control 1. And we can even go to point mode. And this makes it really easy to just move points around where you want them to be. So I really enjoy this kind of workflow, just because we don't have to do a bunch of, design. It's just really easy to change the flow of everything. So I'm going to grab this one and maybe just all of these with the lasso and do G and Z and bring it down. Maybe grab these as well and go into X-ray. So I have all of those selected, and we'll do G and Z and just kind of make it more of a gradual kind of 45 degree there. And we may even have to drop these guys right here a little bit more. G and Z, and just kind of make a nice gradual curve. We can bring these up. So that way the printer can just, print in that 45 degree rule right there. Yeah, that's looking pretty cool. But we have this huge gap on our leash. So let's go to top view and maybe edge view. And we can turn this mode off just to kind of simplify things. And just grab these, go to 7 to the top, and just G, just grab that and just start moving these kind of how you would want it to grip. And I'm just hitting G, so I want it to kind of be pretty close to the leash here. This one's a little too close. We'll go to point mode, G and Y, and I'm upside down, so it's kind of could be confusing. Sorry. But yeah, so just G and Y. Kind of give some space. We do want a little bit because we want it to pinch the leash just a smidge right there. Let's turn on our view here so we can see how much we're working with. Just kind of, barely get it to kind of nudge into the leash. And we're just using the leash as a kind of reference guide here. So we want it tight, but not too tight. Just enough to kind of grip the leash there. So even something like that. And there we go. So that's looking pretty good. And we can always come in here and adjust this anytime that we need to. But that's pretty much it. So we got our clip top. Go ahead and save. Go into object mode. And the cool thing about this is we can always make it, adjust the angles of it. We can make it thinner or more thick. We can flip the offset, whatever you need to do at any time. It makes it super easy and flexible. So I'm liking that. Now, instead of redoing that all over again, what we can do is just Shift D, duplicate that clip, and just hit escape so it's right there on top of itself. And we'll just call this clip bottom. And there's our bottom clip. But what we want is it to be down here and kind of flipped. So if we go into edit mode, select all, go to mesh, mirror, we can flip it on the X. So what we can do now, we have the clip bottom. Let's just go to our back view, Control 1, and just grab that and kind of place it somewhere in that ballpark. And we can do Control 3, and that will go to the other side. And just kind of nudge that around. Somewhere in there. And do Control 1, and maybe grab it, bring it in a little bit. Again, we want it, touching the leash a little snug. And this one needs to just come back a little bit. So we'll go into edit mode. Maybe grab our lines and just do G and Y. And just kind of drop that into it. Maybe even this one too. So really you can just do anything you want to kind of morph that in. Notice it's also like really far in on this spot here. So we can do G and Y. Just going to bring that back a little bit. Even G and Y, bring that one out. And that's looking pretty good. Feel free to, kind of move these around as you need to or want to. But I'm feeling pretty good with that. And really just trying to think of a different type of leash latch or clip that I could do that didn't really look injection molded and was super easy for the user to slip on the leash within a few seconds and kind of get it out. But then also have some tension around the edges here and here to kind of hold the dog in place so it's not sliding up and down the leash really easily. So you may have to print that a few times to get the right tension and tightness, but that's looking pretty good to me. So let's go ahead and join it to our dog head here. So go ahead and save. And what we can do is go back to object mode and just shift click on both of these and then shift click on the head and do Control plus and try and merge that to the dog head here. And if you have any trouble with the booleans here, feel free to bring these booleans maybe above the mirror. You can drop the mirror down. That may help with booleans sometimes. So you may have to mess with the stack, but this one worked pretty well. So now we've got some nice little dog clips, and that's looking pretty good to me. So good job if you made it this far. We've got the clips for our dog head now. Now let's go ahead and jump into the next lesson, and we are going to add the little screw opening and the kind of like the dog collar to start making this a functional product. So let's go ahead and dive on in it.